Welcome to episode 44 of the Chi-Town Shoot Wrestling Podcast. I'm Marcin, and joining me in the squared circle are Chris, David, and Andres. We're coming at you from the heart of the wrestling world, Chicago, Illinois, bringing you the latest news, hottest takes, and all things WWE and AEW. Questions or thoughts, send them over to chi-townshootpodcast at gmail.com. Without further ado, gents, I gotta say, what a week for wrestling this week. I don't know when we're going to upload this, but absolutely the SmackDown in Chicago was, I think, really eventful. And it'll be our first segment of the show, but I wanted to kind of just go around and ask how everyone's doing. Chris, what's new with you?
Got a dog behind me. He's hanging out apparently, sniffing around. Hopefully he ain't getting into nothing. Went Halloween shopping today. Picked up a couple things.
What'd you get?
We're gonna do some DIY ghosts. Went to Home Depot. Got these like tomato gates or whatever you call them, like those triangular cone-shaped things. Cages. Tomato cages.
Oh. Yeah, I guess people use them for tomato cages. You're like for gardening, like the metal wires.
Yeah. So we're gonna DIY some ghosts using that.
Like for the front lawn?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Yeah. What else? Grocery shopping. We were out of food. Looked in that fridge. Be like, damn, there's no damn food in this bitch. Looked in the freezer. Damn, there's no meat. So hit up Sam's and got like another like this pumpkin thing for Halloween. They had some stuff up, and they had Christmas stuff up. Like, damn.
Oh wow,
chill, daddy.
I haven't seen that yet. No. Yeah.
I still think it's a little early. I mean, I guess it's not too early for Halloween, but I was gonna wait until like it gets closer to actually the first day of fall. I know all the stores already all open, got Halloween decorations, saw it in Target, and of course all the Spirit Halloween stuff is open. All your TV shows and movies, anything Halloween related, also gets released around the same time. So, and again, like if Christmas gets like basically 2 months after Halloween, basically Christmas starts. People start hanging up Christmas trees, and Mariah Carey gets defrosted, and then for 2 months you got Christmas. I figured Halloween can get 2 months, September through October. But we haven't hung up our decorations yet. We're probably gonna do it like closer to the 20th. And I don't even know what theme we're gonna do this year. We might just like put out the stuff that we have, not go too crazy because we'll be gone most of the month in October anyway. And yeah, Andres, what's new with you?
Nothing really much. Just been keeping up on the socials under all the wrestling pages. Also, like Chris, checked my fridge, didn't have any food. I'm like, oh wait, gotta go to the grocery shop. So
That's probably a good idea.
right. Yeah. I got a Woodman's down the road, so it's pretty sweet. They got like everything in there, but going on Sundays is like not the best idea. I always try to at least go like after work on a Friday. That's pretty dead, but that's all right. I did that. I just tidied up the house. I mean, pretty much it's been a low key weekend. So it's been chill. No, other than that, no, just been low key. Can't complain.
Nice. Yeah, I mean, we also kind of got a couple of groceries here and there. I feel like I've been trying to, or at least we've been trying to, like just whatever's in the fridge, like what is doable to turn into a meal. Because sometimes I feel like we buy a bunch of stuff, and there's certain things that we bought. We're like, oh, this would be a good idea, and then it just like sits there in the fridge. And then like half of it goes bad or whatever. I'm like, well, it like I'm either get less of it and then be more frequent with our grocery shopping, or just get creative with what you have, because there are so many things that I feel like it's an interesting challenge to like whatever's in the fridge. What can you make out of it? Because there's so many things you can do.
That's me with the whole bag of salad. I do that. I'll buy like a big ass one, and then like I only use like half by the time it gets bad.
Yeah, sure. But yeah, we gotta do some extra grocery shopping. But David, what about you? Besides the SmackDown thing, of course, which we will talk about because that is our first segment. What's going on with you?
Chilling.
Chilling like a villain.
Chilling.
Killing. Yep. Killing.
Yeah, chilling's good. And I mean, after SmackDown on Friday, I had to like chill Saturday. I think I I woke up at like 10 or 11 a.m. because I felt like all my energy got like dispelled on that SmackDown show.
I took a
Um,
fat nap in the middle of the Saturday.
yeah. Uh,
No
yeah,
ordinary
so
nap.
yeah, it was like emotionally draining in a good way. And I guess we could start our first segment off and talk about SmackDown in Chicago. And me and David were lucky enough to have an opportunity to go to SmackDown in Chicago, and it was an eventful one. And I feel like Triple H has said it, and I feel like, I mean, like, just statistically, the amount of shows that Chicago gets, even if it's AEW or WWE, like, we get so many like eventful, memorable segments and things that like happen in the shows that appear in Chicago. It's pretty crazy. We've had when we were on Raw, we had the Cody Rhodes like Rock show up, like when it was like super hot, and then like he left, and then they did the whole getting his ass beat in the rain by the bus, like that was in Chicago. Um, I mean, the Rock Cena stuff that was here too. Uh, I mean, things that we weren't a part of, but it's part of like Chicago wrestling history. Bret Hart versus Stone Cold Steve Austin, the double turn that took place in Chicago. John Cena's debut was here. Uh, you know, so many things. There were so many. See, Money in the Bank 2011, of course. AJ Lee's first WWE Divas title win, even though at the time I don't think people did take the division in general too seriously, but AJ Lee and her feud with Caitlyn was actually one of the better feuds in that decade. Like actually something
Oh,
that
yeah.
was interesting for the Divas division when it was so lackluster, for lack of a better word. And it isn't, like I said, and we've said this before, it isn't the Divas' fault. It's just that, and the women who were working for WWE, it's just the way that they were built. And SmackDown on Friday was one of the most, I think, anticipated SmackDowns of the whole year. And I think it'll probably go down as one of the best SmackDowns of the year, especially because I feel like there has been this kind of critique for Triple H. And I don't know if it's necessarily true, but I guess you can say there's a bit of a lull after WrestleMania. It felt like a little bit of a holding pattern for some of these stories and things. Not sure where to go with the women's division and their titles. The tag teams are doing okay. I feel like SmackDown's tag titles are a little better than Raw's, but I feel like this angle that came out of SmackDown is gonna really, I think, carry WWE through Survivor Series up to John Cena's retirement show in December, and then of course you get Royal Rumble, and then WrestleMania season kicks off again. So AJ Lee, of course, if you've been living under a rock and you haven't been paying attention to the wrestling world for the past week, debut, or I keep saying debuted, and I made that mistake when I made that video. Returned, re-debuted on WWE programming after basically 10 years of an absence. She left in 2015, basically retiring at like the age of 28. After and I think CM Punk's leaving the year before, and then him basically getting fired on his wedding day and all that kind of stuff, I feel like probably added to the decision for her to retire and focus on other passions. But she left at a interesting moment in women's wrestling in WWE, because right around the time that she left, the horsewomen, like the NXT roster, you had Sasha Banks, Charlotte Flair, Bayley. Like she was still there for that like very beginning of it, and she had some interactions with Bayley and that crew on NXT as Divas champion. And you can see those clips online. I'm sure people are resharing everything that AJ Lee did in that time period, where she was the most important women's wrestler on that roster for about 3 years in a row, I'll say, between 2012 and 2015. And yeah, just getting that opportunity now to wrestle with the women that basically all started like when she left and then had 10 different title reigns since, all established wrestlers, and now she gets to wrestle like in with women that like are seasoned and like spoiled for choice with dream matches. I'll say that. Um, but yeah, I mean the AJ Lee debut, and of course I want to start with the John Cena speech in his last SmackDown ever, allegedly, and his speech made me really emotional. I actually shed a few tears at my seat when he was talking. And it is kind of like, to borrow Jerry Lawler's words, bizarro world, where John Cena got a gigantic ass pop in Chicago, and traditionally it's been a mixture of cheers and boos, and sometimes more boos than cheers in Chicago. Most of his career was that kind of reaction from this city, and I think I don't know what's in his heart, but I feel like it can't always be great if like you're a face and then you get that kind of reaction. But I feel like there was some level of respect, and he liked that he was getting such a strong reaction from us. Like he kind of knew what we were doing, because when the show ends, I think there was still some kind of like, "Hey, good job. We enjoyed the show." Like even when we show the clip with Ryback going through the ambulance, like people like that. They were cheering him, putting him through the ambulance. So
Feed me
even though
more.
he got booed. But yeah, David, what do you think? I've been rambling on, but what did you think of that SmackDown?
Thought it was probably like the best SmackDown in a long, long time.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely that. Even like overall like energy, I felt like it was just on par, or if not better than that Raw we went to right before Mania.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
I mean, yeah. I mean,
John Cena wrestled 35 minutes.
oh yeah. I mean, I didn't
They
even
put out a Ring Honor Classic.
didn't even keep count, but yeah, that took
Yeah.
up like the first hour of SmackDown basically.
Yeah.
And Chris, you were
Then
talking
Bork.
about the commercials. How many commercials were going through that one match when there was?
Like unnecessarily amount of like commercials. Like there must have been 15 or something, because it was just like an onslaught the entire time. I don't know if that was because it was like being streamed on like the Xfinity app that there were more, or was it actually, like if you had the cable box or whatever, is that what you're seeing? But I figure it's the same thing because it's live.
Yeah, I mean they wouldn't cut to commercial over something that would be important. I think they have specific spots. Or referee tells them it's commercial break, and then I mean when we were watching the wrestling match in the building, you get like the lights basically they either go up or down, and it is like a visual cue that it's a break uh, for the wrestling match. So it definitely went up a couple times, and people were
Yeah.
complaining about it on social media. And I don't know why there was that much of a frequency. Maybe because they knew a lot of people were going to tune in, so they were going to get as many ad dollars as they can. I don't know. But yeah, I mean that match was great. I mean, he he did
I hope
like so many Easter eggs. He did an edge spear. He did an ankle lock. He did a GTS.
he went for the
Trying to think.
RKO.
He tried to go for the RKO, and that was absolutely improvised because he was hearing them do it, and he was probably like yelling at Sami Zayn, like, "I'm about to try and do an RKO, reverse it," or something like that. I'm
He
sure.
did an angle slam.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I hope
Yeah.
they upload that match like with no ads. Like you would enjoy that match, no ads. I think, well, everybody would, but you would.
Yeah.
That was a
Yeah,
classic,
it was
dude. He was like, y'all like Ring of Honor? Heard this city likes Ring of Honor.
It was
a
so
Ring of
funny.
Honor ass match.
One of my favorite chants during that match was, "Let's go Cena, Sammy sucks." So it was just like this back and forth, but they were both like essentially,
Pro
shitting
Cena.
on pro Cena, right?
Right, yeah.
Yeah, poor
Like,
Sammy.
yeah. I feel like he must have known, because if you're putting up like the guy that's retiring, and then I mean I wouldn't personally call that you're interrupting it, because you are giving him a title shot. So it could have theoretically been like, oh, babyface is coming in and giving him an opportunity for a belt to honor his US Open challenge
His
that he won
hero.
in like 2015 or whatever it was. Right, and then I guess like the crowd was like, well, we gotta boo somebody, so let's boo Sami Zayn, and then just I think what I was doing it because, well, it was one fun, and I think a lot of people do that too when they were booing Cena. But I think like for me, it was like we are always booing Cena for most of his career, so let's flip it on its script and then give him like a gigantic ovation, and then have the other person who's also a baby face just boo him and shit on him. Um, and Cena, and then Cena's basically getting that kind of bizarre world reaction. I feel like it was very poetic too, because now the shoe's on the other foot. And yeah, I thought it was fun. The guy that was sitting next to us, he was like, "Why are they booing Sami Zayn?" I'm like, "Dude, have you never been to like a Chicago like wrestling show? Some people just do it because they're just being edgy or whatever." Because he was like saying, I wasn't paying attention to SmackDown for a while."
I was
But
saying Boo Earns.
yeah, booers. But yeah, I basically told him that I think he was like with his wife, who was like 2 seats down, and then they had brought 2 kids with them. But yeah, and then they had the whole match, and then Brock Lesnar, of course, showed up and just F5 both of them, left. Like, I don't know, like how, like just logistically and logically, I guess, like how does the match come together? Because Cena sees Lesnar, he shows up, and then that's it. Then there's no mention of anything, and nothing gets brought up between that and then this SmackDown, and then he shows up again, and just shows up, F5s both of them, and then walks to the back, and then apparently, and I think he says, "See you at WrestlePalooza, bitch," or something like that. And
Yep.
then the match just gets created.
There you go. That's all you
No
need,
input from
baby.
Cena. Cena didn't get any input. He just like got F5 for both times, and then just like hobbled to the back, and then that's it. And then they're like, okay, there's the match. I don't know. I feel like it could have been done differently, but based on like Cena's like 7 or 8, or now he has 7, I think, appearances left. I guess what else are you gonna do? And you want to check
One's
off
a
the
Bork
boxes.
match.
Yeah, exactly.
One
On the
more
list is
time.
like, all right, Bork match, check it off the box. We're doing it at WrestlePalooza, big ESPN PLE that
Oh,
they want to impress.
oh, dude, freaking Lesnar knows how to do that Japan style too. They need to go all out.
Mhm.
He needs
They
to
better
be pure
do
carnage.
they better do synchronized shooting star presses.
Just from opposite corners, and no one landing on
Yes.
anything but the mat.
Yep.
They headbutt.
Yeah,
Midair.
yeah, they headbutt midair. And like, was it
Makes a sound effect like a cartoon.
Logan Paul
Donk.
versus no Ricochet? Who was the one that like just they both jumped at each other and then just smacked each other?
Yeah, those two.
Yeah. So just do double shooting star presses, and then just like mid flip, like their heads hit, and then just that'd be fun. But wait, when was Lesnar in New Japan, or did he do it like go indie for a little bit? I don't remember.
When he left the NFL.
Was this before his debut on WWE?
No, this is before his 2011 return.
Oh,
Or
so
whenever he came back.
So he had UFC and all that, and then he was doing a New Japan stint. or
Yep.
stint in Japan.
He didn't want to give up the belt to anybody, and he went home. And
Dang.
but he agreed to lose it to Angle.
That's pretty sick. But yeah, I mean, I'm looking forward to that match. I mean, again, like they've been feuding for a while too. I think when did he come back? It was like 2012, I think. And then he had the whole Cena feud, and that was fun to watch. And again, this was peak like we don't like Cena, and then Lesnar's here to like beat the shit out of him, and then he had his reign of terror, and that was entertaining. So I guess it's kind of fun to see it one last time. But I like Lesnar's cool, but I just feel like I don't know. I don't know if I want to see him in other feuds with other people. Like for me, I'm like after this, yeah, check off the box, but I don't need to see other feuds with him. I don't know. That's just me. Um but
Who,
yeah, I
Bork?
guess yeah, Brock Lesnar. I mean like what let's I guess let me ask you like when this Cena match ends, what do you want Lesnar to do? Like, what do you think they should do with him?
Go away till it's time to kick somebody else's butt.
Just be like part time status,
Yep.
like I don't even know, like it would I guess Roman Reigns would be considered part timer at this point, but I feel like he's been in pretty important matches for most of the year. He just doesn't show up in the week to weeks. So I don't even know if we need Lesnar that frequently, to be
Give
honest
him
with
like
you.
the
Like
Taker schedule.
yeah, I mean, like that's what I would honestly give him. Just like give him Undertaker's schedule, big marquee matches, something at WrestleMania, I guess. Maybe the big four PLEs, and then that's it. Honestly. Oh
Nice.
yeah. That looks familiar. The dirt
Yeah, dude.
sheets and all that kind of stuff. I'm sure I read up on that stuff. And we'll talk about dirt sheets in our main segment of the podcast. But yeah, let's go back to the so we had the whole Cena segment, and then I feel like the middle was largely uneventful. And I will say that the women's intercontinental title belt currently, because it's attached to Becky Lynch, is getting more of a spotlight than the United States Championship. I feel like the United States Championship is kind of like Julia's the champ, but there isn't anything super interesting happening with it, in my opinion. Like she had a match with Michin, and like even the crowd was like so about it. Because like you're not really giving us something to really cheer for because there wasn't a real rhyme or reason for it, you know. And you had the Aleister Black and Damian Priest match that we kind of missed halfway because we were trying to meet up with was it Christian?
Yeah.
Christian, yeah. And I guess he couldn't leave his seat because he
On
brought
time.
his entire family in the row, and I guess he just didn't want to deal with that stuff. So yeah, we just got some beers, and then by the time the match ended, we were back in our seats. But
$40 beer.
$18 beer plus tax because I just got a Coors Light. And I mean for
$20
David, I
beer.
mean that THC was probably working, so I don't think we honestly just had like one beer each.
Yeah.
Um,
Well, I had a
did a little pregame.
truly unruly and a half.
Yes,
and the
truly
lollipop.
unruly. Yeah, you had a truly
And the
unruly
syrup.
mixed in with THC.
Damn.
Whole body
Uh,
vibrating.
I was like, well, we don't need like $40 beers. Let's just pregame a bit before here, and then we ordered the Uber. And then
Don't
we
mind
got
if I do.
into an MLM conversation on the way to the show, which was fun. But yeah, she got us there on time. We beat the traffic because you know how when you're heading towards the Allstate Arena, and I feel like it's either or. If we're driving from our direction or from like your house, there's always a line for people who want to get into the parking lot, and there's just like red on Google Maps all the way. and she did this giant Yui and then just kind of cut around, zigzagged, and dropped us off at the target, like I said we should. But yes, now I'm going on a side tangent. And yeah, so then the big thing that I feel like everybody kind of knew and was kind of hoping to see was the return of AJ Lee in the match. Some people were speculating, oh, it's going to be Rhea Ripley and CM Punk.
Gooker.
Gobbledygooker, right? You said that the lights were going to turn off and there was going to be a giant egg in the middle of the ring, and the gobbledygooker was going to hatch.
Book it, Paul.
Yeah, some people were joking that it'll be Randy Orton because in 2009 Randy Orton was RKOing women. I think he was like he RKO'd like Stephanie. He was RKOing. I don't think it was Tori Wilson. Maybe it was Kelly, but he was unhinged in 2009 for sure. He had like
Heard voices, bro.
Well, it was like voices, but the gimmick was also like he's an a-hole, and then he would have like these spurts where he would see just red and just like murder anybody who was like in his vicinity, including like Stephanie McMahon or Kelly or whatever. So yeah, people were speculating as Orton. Some people were joking about Stone Cold Steve Austin because of his own personal history. But yeah, it was thankfully AJ Lee. And I mean, the pop, I don't know like what it was like on TV, and I don't know if I was just hearing myself screaming like a schoolgirl, but as soon as like her theme song started playing, like the whole arena erupted. Like
I thought The Rock was there.
Yeah, it was like The Rock was showing up. It was magic, and it was really good. And also like just so like it was just such a like it just like a full circle type of thing where it's like you had both people leave WWE on bad terms. CM Punk comes back. He gets like he checks all these boxes that he had. He rebuilds bridges in WWE. He has all these like great friends and stuff that like he gets to work with again, like Kofi Kingston and Bailey, and teaching all the younger kids and stuff. Gets the main event WrestleMania. He hasn't gotten a championship match or a WWE belt on him yet, but I don't think that's even that important for him. And then now his wife is back in WWE.
For a second.
Yes, you're right. You're right. He did for like 20 seconds, but like I feel like that counts. Like that, and I guess my brain didn't count it because it was so brief. But yeah, now his wife's back in WWE. She hasn't been here for 10 years. She left right before the women's revolution stuff really kicked off. And now all these girls that looked up to her, like when you look at it, when you actually line them all up who had like similar gimmicks, like Liv Morgan, not Raquel Rodriguez, Roxanne Perez, Alexa Bliss had it to a certain degree too. Yeah, I mean, it's kind of nuts how she inspired like some of these girls, and now they're all on the same roster. And just getting like there are so many dream matches that I could just like think of, like the entire like roster of like veteran women, like Charlotte Flair versus AJ Lee, Asuka versus AJ Lee, Liv Morgan versus AJ Lee, Roxanne Perez, Becky Lynch, fucking Trish Stratus came back again just to try and prove a point. She can do a match with AJ Lee. Hell, dude, go crazy and do a Lita one. That'd be wild.
She needs to update her moveset, I think, from the Divas era to who she'd be tangoing with now. I want to see some crazy stuff.
Arm drag.
Yeah, arm drags.
Arm bar.
But yeah, I mean, I've been doing my whole little monologue. But Andres, what did you think of AJ Lee's return? And where do you want to go from here?
Well, obviously the big leak that happened with WWE Shop kind of spoiled it a little bit there, but But no, it was great. It was great seeing her. She looked amazing too. She actually like didn't look any different than when she like left. You know, it was kind of crazy. Like, but yeah, the pop was well deserved. I was really happy to see her come back, and we'll see. I mean, I know obviously going forward, this is going to help continue going with the rivalry now with the two couples and stuff. So that's very interesting. Becky Lynch was also part of that women's revolution too, right? So this is kind of like
Yeah.
AJ kind of stepping into that next generation of wrestlers and stuff like that. So I think that's really cool.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, it's awesome. I'm glad she's back. It's obviously been, you know, it's too perfect that she is there, you know. So honestly, like I'm super excited about it.
Yeah, and I mean, like you said, Becky Lynch was one of those women in the women's revolution, and then this just kind of lined up perfectly because, yeah, CM Punk is in a feud with Seth Rollins, and I feel like she got put into this feud because somewhere between July and Clash in Paris, they got some kind of deal down, and I feel like that's why then Becky Lynch came in to kick him in the balls and then do this whole feud, and it just worked out perfectly. I think the tag match that I'm assuming is going to happen because they haven't said anything yet, but clearly that seems where it's going. And if I was them, I would do it for all the marbles, just to really turn it up to 11. Be like, all right, both your belts are on the line. If you both lose, you got to give it to the other person, or vice versa. You get to keep them.
That's what I was thought they were hinting at too, because she was running around right with the IC belt. So
She was, yeah, and I don't know if this is just a inkling of like, all right, I'm gonna pin you in a tag match, and then we'll just run this IC feud through the end of the year, because I think that's entirely possible, and that should be fun to see. I'd love to see like an established Naomi also, by the way, like fight her again, because when she first started with AJ, she was still like she was a wrestler, but she was still getting that like funkadactyl aura on her. Like she was not anywhere near the level that Naomi is now. So that would be a great like throwback, and just really cool to see someone that established now whenever she has her kid and comes back. Because that seems like an inevitability too. And like I think David, you were sharing some of the things that Naomi was saying on X, but yeah, she was having a blast, just like saying she was basically kind of like going unhinged and saying that Jimmy, her husband, has to sleep with the fleas tonight because AJ Lee showed up. Oh man, Chris, what did you think? What did you think of her debut, and where do you want it to go from here?
Shit, I thought SmackDown was gonna be a 3 hour show. I was like, why is it over already? It was like 2 hours. I don't know what happened after the cameras went off, but honestly, just made me want to see more. And as far as like the feuds, Becky Lynch makes the most sense now. But yeah, I mean, like possibilities are endless. I mean, there's just so much untapped potential. There's probably gonna be like NXT crossover stuff jumping on there. So I imagine she's on Raw because CM Punk is on Raw, right? Or is he on SmackDown?
That's what it seems like. No, CM Punk's on Raw, so
He's
I
on Raw.
imagine. Yeah, and she's and this is gonna take place after Raw on Monday, but she's scheduled for Raw in Milwaukee. So, and yeah, because they're feuding and they're all technically Raw roster folks, she's probably gonna be on Raw for the time being.
Yeah, so it was good to see her. I definitely popped off the couch for that one.
What did Arlene think? I mean, she didn't watch it back then, right? So she wasn't that familiar with her, right? Or
No, no, because I mean we started dating in 2014. I mean she might remember we were watching around then.
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah, because if you're starting dating in 2014, I mean that was also she was on the roster. I don't even know. I mean, I don't know if we were watching. Well, we were watching, but I don't know if you were watching it with her at that time. I feel like it was still kind of like two separate things
Mm.
in your own time. But yeah, I mean, it was great. yeah, I guess we'll see where this goes. Chances are that it's going to be a tag team match at WrestlePalooza, which takes place in, I think, 2 weeks, in a week,
The
probably when this
20th.
comes out. Yeah, so in like a week when this comes out.
All out.
Um, and All
Yep.
Out, yes, also All Out is taking place. But I know which one's the more interesting pay-per-view.
They got a
Oh,
special
wow.
start time though. I think they're early afternoon now instead of like same time.
Yeah. Tony Khan blinked and then he had to move it because he didn't want to put it up against WrestlePalooza. And we're gonna delve into wrestling journalism a bit at the end of the show. But one thing Brian Alvarez I think made a good point uh, of is I think WWE's just gonna fuck with Tony Khan going forward regardless. Like you're gonna move, you can keep moving your time, but there will come a day where WWE's just gonna see that you moved it, and then they're just gonna move their time to when you moved it, and you're not gonna move it back to 7 p.m. because then you look like a goober. So I figured, like you probably should have just kept it, and just to see, like how well you do up against, WWE. Of course, like I understand like business, and you're being risk averse by not trying to siphon, the audience and maybe potentially have less money. But I think WWE is, I mean, petty. Is it petty? I mean, I guess you can consider it to be petty. Some people call it just business and just being competition, and you're just competing with an alternate product. But yeah, I think they're just gonna keep fucking with them going
Wrestling's
forward.
been doing it forever.
Yeah, I mean, and wrestling has been doing it forever. Like we keep talking about the Monday Night Wars, even though it died like 25 years ago. Um,
Was it Starcade was counter programming to WrestleMania?
as a for pay-per-view, I don't know, but even if you don't count pay-per-views, like we're like Monday Night Raw and Nitro, like that was head-to-head shit. Nitro would do petty shit, reading off, pre-recorded Monday Night Raws, so they say don't change the channel. So I mean, it's competition, and it's been in wrestling's DNA for a long time, so this isn't anything new. But yeah, I mean, I think this was the first time that WWE and AEW were going to go head-to-head in a pay-per-view, because I think they've done it with like NXT and Dynamite a number of times, but this would have been the first time that a pay per view would be going head to head. But he moved it. He was like, "I don't want any smoke. I don't want to touch that shit." And he moved it up to the afternoon, which is fine because then, I mean, I don't know what our plan is, but then we don't have to do two screens. You could actually focus on both shows instead of just the one. But yeah, I think we can move on to the next segment with MJF. Speaking of AEW, folks, responding to Ronda Rousey's WWE booking criticism. And this was MJF, I think, as a person, understands that pro wrestling is a business. I think a lot of us kind of understand that. And he understands the business side of professional wrestling. And the bidding war of 2024, I don't know if, like, do you think the bidding war of 24, do you think he was actually getting offers from WWE, and was he seriously considering it that
I'm
year?
sure.
Yeah, he
I'm
must
sure
have, right?
because Regal was there.
That's true. Yeah. So yeah, I mean, like, as a businessman, he knows better than anybody. Especially a recent example was that bidding war of 2024, and he negotiated with AEW. I am genuinely curious how much he got out of that negotiation, because yeah, he's probably making a lot of money. But not everyone, like MJF, views professional wrestling as a business like that. And specifically recently, Ronda Rousey shared her frustration with WWE's booking of her to feud with Alexa Bliss in 2018, because Bliss was a top star because of her high merchandise sales. And Ronda Rousey basically said, the fact that they had me fighting Alexa Bliss at all was effing ridiculous. And you want to know why they had me against Alexa Bliss? Because she had the most uh, merch sales at the time. Like, what the fuck? That's your decision making process. And then MJF basically took that quote from the news, and then he did his own little like personal retweet saying it's almost like pro wrestling, much like any professional sport, functions as a business. And then he said "fucking crazy" with like the emoji with like the head explosion thing. So I guess let me ask you guys, Chris, who do you in this like debate about what when it's of course it's a business? Do you sympathize with Ronda's frustration, or is your initial gut reaction lining up more with MJF's reaction?
I mean, I was never a Ronda fan, so my initial reaction was like, yeah, MJF served her ass or whatever. Cause yeah, I mean, I don't know, like they hyped her up. She could have like done well. I mean, she did initially well, but I think just her overall attitude of the business just turned a lot of people off. You know, like she was owed a bunch of stuff. So I definitely side more with MJF in this case.
Yeah. David, what do you think? What do you think when you hear that commentary from her and then you hear what MJF says? What comes to your mind when you read that?
More towards MJF, and then like I was just looking deeper because it's what I thought it was, and uh, Ronda had a feud with Alexa Bliss to get the belt.
Mm-hmm.
Like, how else are you gonna get the belt?
Right.
So why are you
Which
complaining? Like
yeah.
that's like it's really weird. It's weird because it's like why like do you not know how things work? And then it's like okay, so you're mad you're going against somebody that sells merch. That's like good for you.
Right.
It's,
Like I don't understand that part. And
yeah.
Chris, I know you said you don't like
I
that.
think it's CTE.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
think
it
it's
must be.
CTE.
Honestly, it might be the strange reactions. Like for me personally, I actually did like Ronda Rousey when she showed up because I thought it was like a cool. It was like the equivalent of like Brock Lesnar coming back because he had that UFC background, and having that in the women's division, I was like, yeah, beat those divas up or whatever. Like I just thought that was kind of like cool seeing like someone like Ronda Rousey in the division. Because she was a legit like MMA fighter, and I think when initially I was because I wasn't watching MMA, I knew her peripherally through UFC. I think I liked her because I she liked Pokemon a lot, and that was like her thing. Was like she was a big gamer, and also UFC fighter, and she was just a really huge fan of Pokemon apparently. So that was kind of like what
Name 5 songs.
gravitated me towards it. Wasn't she like a Pokemon commercial? There was something, but yeah, she did have this like
Name
whole
5
uh,
gens.
and that's and I mean that's the only way I learned through it was like it was through gaming related news, and then of course wrestling. I remember her wearing that Vegeta shirt. I think it was when it was like The Rock going up against was it Triple H and Stephanie, and then he brought her in from the to the ring, something like
Yeah.
Yeah.
that. Yeah, yeah. So I thought that was cool. I thought it was a cool moment, and then she had a longer stint in WWE. I didn't mind it, but I think like her view of the business was I don't know. I just feel I think like her approach and philosophy to it. I just don't know why you'd be viewing it that way because there were certain things I think she took personally. I think it was like a heel or face turn kind of thing, and I think they were booing her, and she didn't really understand why that was happening. Kind of similar like how Charlotte Flair was feeling in Chicago, and it just like really rocked her when they were like really booing the crap out of her this past year. Um, yeah, I don't know. Like I personally don't understand it. Because it is a business, and you know, if you sell a lot of merchandise and T-shirts and that kind of stuff, you probably are gonna get a push. So are that if you are a top person feuding with a person who's doing really well also, they're gonna pair you with the other person. And I don't know if this was supposed to be some kind of like insult because it's Alexa Bliss or what, because that would be strange and bizarre. But yeah, I feel like that's a little bit of like naivety when it comes to
Thanks for putting me over.
yeah, like you understand like what kind of business you're in. Of course, it's predetermined and it's choreographed. You know, so I guess let me ask a more meta question. This is still revolving around the topic, but it's kind of zoomed out a little bit. And I guess Andres, I'll ask you, what should be the primary driver like of a wrestler's push? Because we just talked about the concept of like, oh well, you know, you're selling a lot of merchandise and now you're getting a push, or you're getting considered more because you're clearly making more money for us as a business. So what do you think should be the primary driver of a wrestler's push? Is it merchandise sales and ticket moving ability, or is it pure in-ring talent and storytelling ability? And where's the ideal balance between the two?
We definitely talked about like I think that as a subject like in one of our pods before, like many months ago, about like what equates to top star.
Yeah.
But I think like in this case, like or in a meta question as you put it, I mean top sales and merch is obviously a huge push because obviously the universe is saying that we love this person, you know, we want to see them do more, you know, as a character. But then you have like what Roman Reigns, like everyone hated him for so long, and he was getting pushed like crazy, you know. But yeah, I don't know.
Still sold.
Yeah.
Asses in seats.
Yeah,
I mean, it's the same thing like Cena. Like people boo the shit out of him. But
I do remember that.
Still the top merch seller, like regardless, for 10 years.
Yeah,
some kind of shirt was up there in that rotation.
Yeah, I saw a clip of him once. Like I don't know what it was, but like I remember he was backstage and like he wasn't even in character, and they gave him the report of the sales for that like show he was working, and he was number one, and he was kind of shaking his head. He's like he's like it's weird. He's just like they tell you to piss off in the crowd, but then they buy your stuff, you know? Right. Yeah. He's like I don't get it, you know. I don't know. There's a lot of things that go into it, but obviously, you know, sales is a big thing, you know. And I mean, if your merch is selling out like crazy, yeah, you're definitely going to be pushed into the main card or upper mid card for sure, depending where the storyline's going. That's obviously a huge factor, you know, crowd pop and stuff, regardless if it's negative or positive. But you know, with the case of Ronda Rousey, I mean, yeah, she's very bitter a lot of WWE, honestly. Yeah. Like. It's been so long, you know, and she's still very like ugh about WWE. I don't know. I was kind of surprised that she even like said anything even now. Like why? Yeah. You know? And it does seem like a little bit of a snark or a snide comment to Alexa Bliss. Maybe it wasn't intended that way. It was more to just talk crap about WWE, but I don't know.
Maybe because she felt like she's like, you know, like a Lesnar type figure where, you know, I'm a real quote unquote athlete and you know, I'm this UFC fighter coming in and, you know, you're putting me up against Alexa Bliss instead of, I don't know, in 2018, who would be a bigger star. I mean, I guess Becky Lynch was starting to become the man in 2018. But
like straight to Charlotte?
She also, yeah.
Like, get out of this, only thing that would have made sense.
Yeah, but then like the other thing is like, well, you're not going to just keep feuding with her the whole time either. Like, wouldn't you want more variety? And Alexa Bliss was also champion, so when you want to fight with the champion, I don't know.
She doesn't like wrestling as much as she claimed to. I feel like, because like I feel like a lot of the stuff that she passes over is just kind of like common sense and the essence of the business.
Yeah.
Like, why did I have to feud with the champion? I beat her for the belt, but why did I have to feud for the champion? Why?
Right.
Why couldn't they just give me the belt?
And I mean, like she said, she's like a big fan of like Roddy Piper, and that was like her
No,
whole
she was.
like inspiration
No,
thing,
she
right?
is. Yeah, sure,
I do remember her saying that though,
sure.
because her look was
Name
kind of like
5
his at first. When she
songs.
first,
Yeah, I
You
mean, like
closed your eyes. It's like
she,
Name
an
5
'80s wrestler.
songs. Yeah. It's because Piper said she was cool. And there's nothing like that. She's like, oh yeah, I watched Pokemon. Like, shit.
yeah.
Sorry.
well, like you too, Marcin. I
Alright.
was excited when she came over. I was like, oh, cool, like
Yeah,
another legend figure, but definitely not
I
humble
thought
with
it
the
was
business.
cool. Yeah, yeah. Until she ruined all that.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I don't know, like if she just maybe she didn't understand. Maybe she looked
She's
at the
got.
business a certain way, and then when she got into it, she just realized that it wasn't what her expectations were. I don't know.
Yeah,
And I think, but she
she's a
left like
mark for herself.
2022. Yeah,
Yeah,
I
she's
mean, I'm
just a
sure there's a
mark.
when you
certain
come from
degree
another
of
company,
that.
man, maybe because I was gonna say Lesnar was cool, but like I mean, but he came from WWE and then went there, versus she came from there directly. So
Yeah.
there's
Well,
definitely two different.
let me ask you this, Chris, I guess if you can answer this, and then if anyone wants to jump in, do you feel like focusing too heavily on the business side, like booking based on t-shirt sales, ultimately hurts the long-term health of the wrestling product by making it feel less like I don't want to say legitimate competition, but like the illusion of it, I guess. Does that make sense?
Uh, I mean, I feel like at least if you can look at like who's selling in like top 5 in like merchandise, because like merchandise sales is like telling them, who's popular in a sense, right? If their merchandise is selling, that means that that person's most likely popular on some level. So they could like if within the title scene, if you can at least see who are like top 5 merchandise sellers, you can rotate and keep it interesting versus like just focusing on the biggest seller of merchandise and they're always the guy on top or whatever. So just kind of like
Mm-hmm.
opening up the optics of it, and you can keep it kind of interesting.
Yeah. Oh, let's see. Um, yeah, I mean, like, honestly, I had like one more question. Um, as a fan, like, does like I feel like as a fan, I know that if there's someone who's popular, for example, like I don't know, Santino Marella and his sock snake. Like if that's flying off the shelves and they give him, a bigger push because he's entertaining and like people are getting a kick out of it, who am I to say, let him get a push for like a specific belt versus like someone who's like purely technical of a mat wrestler or whatever, like Daniel Bryan or somebody like that. Like I honestly don't look at it that way. Like I I know what wrestling is as a product and as a business, and if someone's popular, I understand why they're getting a push. Sometimes to the detriment of my own personal like biases or preferences when it comes to wrestlers. So but whatever. Like I don't know. Like if I was in her position and maybe if I was wrestling Alexa Bliss and stuff, like I don't know. I feel like for me, I feel like I'd be like a Cena guy and be like a team player. Like, oh, this is what you want me to do. All right, aye, Captain. And then put my own spin on it and work within my limitations and framework. But I don't know. I think sometimes people are a little too high on their own supply, and I understand maybe there were certain things that happened backstage that maybe have made you bitter to a certain degree, but I don't know. I don't have the energy for that kind of shit either. I feel like that sometimes that just seems very high school to me.
It's generally
When that's your perception,
the business is a teamwork thing from like the top card to the bottom card though, because that's just how it is. I mean, they have that
Right.
saying of going into business for yourself is like this negative thing because you're derailing what's kind of happening on screen because you feel a certain kind of way or whatever. You're trying to benefit yourself. So, you know, I mean, that's just the essence of the business,
Right.
and that she doesn't understand that, or anybody else that
Yeah.
feels that way for that matter. You know, why be in it? You're
Right.
just kind of screwing it up for everybody else.
Yeah. I mean, and again, it is a dance. Like they call it a dance because it's a partnership between two people. So if someone's selling a lot of merchandise, then it's your duty to like make that person look good, and then you get elevated to a certain degree, and then you elevate the other person. No one is, and again, we've said this before, no one thinks that wrestling is like quote unquote real anymore. We understand that it's predetermined. So with that mindset, you know that your duty is just to make the other person look good, and then you both will look good coming out of it. And like you said, it's a team sport, for lack of a better word. Like it, and sport, it is I will say, and I'll still say that it's a sport to a certain degree. It's just a different kind of sport. You know, it's like I don't know, figure skating or professional dancing or whatever it is that you want to judge somebody. It's still a product that you both put together and plan out, and then you perform this dance that you created. And yeah, and that's how that business works. So like your weird, like nitpicky type thing about, oh, that's your decision making process. Well, yeah, it's a business. Yeah, this person's doing a lot of merch. She's also not a bad wrestler. It's not like she had no skills or anything and it just came out of nowhere. Like she has her own level of skills and stuff to back it up. So I didn't see that big of an issue. So, but well, Rhonda, I hope you change your perspective. But speaking of interviews and dirt sheets and all that kind of stuff, I did want to talk about wrestling journalism as a concept, as a topic, because I feel like at least for, I think all of us, we can say that, you know, the dirt sheets, wrestling news, at one point or another, I feel like we've read articles, we've been hyped up by rumors, we've been wound up by things on the internet that people say came from, you know, I don't know, the wrestlingballsniffer.net or whatever, and then people argue.
You mean Observer?
Yes, exactly. I'm sorry, I misspoke. That the Wrestling Observer. So I wanted to talk about the role of wrestling journalism, and let's kind of like start off like what does that mean, a wrestling journalist? Because I feel like people have different definitions or concepts of what a wrestling journalist is. I think some people say, well, wrestling journalism, like Dave Meltzer, for example, like that's our quote unquote wrestling journalist. But like David, what does the term wrestling journalist mean to you? And do you think it's a legitimate form of journalism, or is it is something else entirely?
I think it means you cover wrestling,
Mm-hmm.
and your legitimacy is in what you put out there.
Right. So you think
And
wrestling journalism as a concept, you think like it's legit, right? Like if someone's
Yeah.
legit wrestling journalist, yeah. Who would you, and like and you know the kind of outlets that I'm talking about, the kind of people that are in the conversation. Who would you consider a wrestling journalist?
Simon Miller.
Okay.
It's information, like, okay, some people say like how he mentions like the overly positive, like no, it's his take on wrestling. And I think as long as I think like he does a really good job of like just reporting the wrestling. Like he might talk about some other stuff, but he doesn't he doesn't tip his toes in like bullshit in it, for lesser of a better term.
Do you think like there's a difference between a wrestling journalist? Like there's different terms that people use, and
Right.
for folks, like it means different things. So a journalist versus a reporter versus a pundit, like a talking head,
Right.
someone who just does commentating. I feel like we can maybe be in that kind of circle, or a content creator, right? Like all these terms mean different things. And
Right.
you know, do you feel like there is a difference between like that? If I say wrestling journalist, reporter, pundit, do you feel like those are three separate things, or is there some kind of like Venn diagram somewhere in the middle?
To me, it's like either way. It's like it's three roads that lead to the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
It's like it's how you absorb your wrestling news.
Yeah. Chris, what about you?
Like,
When you hear wrestling journalist, what the hell does that mean?
I mean, they're dealing with sharing, like Sean Ross Sapp, for instance, is a example, kind of like saying that, oh, this contract's up or there's some kind of information. But I mean, it can also vary. It doesn't have to necessarily be like inside baseball stuff necessarily. I feel like if you're reporting on what happened on a show, like highlights or something like that, that is a form of journalism, right? You're just kind of like talking about the business and showing, you know, breaking it down for people essentially.
Mm-hmm. Andres, what about you? What do you think when you hear wrestling journalism? What do you think about?
I mean, I think about like those people that are at the post like pay-per-views, like the ones that are asking questions and gathering intel, to
Mm-hmm.
post for their own social media. Just um,
yeah, like the
the
Waffle
same thing with
House
sports in
order.
general.
Yeah, because and that's what I mean. Like when I say wrestling journalism, it's like, and it's such. I feel like it's such a unique thing
It
to
is.
wrestling, where it's like you have a room where it's called a quote unquote press conference, but there's different degrees of what you would consider a journalist in that same room, right? Like you have people who are like Sean Ross Sapp that I think does a really good job because they have sources and people they have as a reference, and they report on the
Trust me, bro.
news. And there are people who are also like trust me, bro, kind of folks, who are also in that kind of same
Twitter.
room. Yeah, I mean, like Twitter heads. I mean, like there's a whole bunch, and there's no way that everyone has the same level of credibility and sources as like I mean, I don't even know. Like something like Dave Meltzer. I feel like sometimes I'm like, okay, he must have some kind of sources, and then other times I'm like, I don't know if you're just talking out of your ass or what. So it's like I when I'm thinking of like that kind of figure, and then if I'm thinking of like I don't know a CNN or like you're reporting the news on like war and politics and that kind of stuff, where you have like sources and you have to back it up. I like I don't know if like those kind of folks have those kind of episodes like Meltzer does, where it just feels like he's just musing about like reading his crystal ball and this is what I think it is. You know what I mean? Like there's a difference. Like there's like you need to have facts if you're writing an article up in the New York Times versus I don't know the Wrestling Observer or something like that. So that's where like for me when I'm thinking of wrestling journalism as a term, it's a little wishy-washy. I feel like there are some folks who fit that bill, but then if you look at a room of folks, when you put them all together in like a press conference, results may vary. I feel like, and I wouldn't consider us to be wrestling journalists or reporters or anything like that. I feel like we fall more under like the content creator and kind of like commentary folks. Like folks who enjoy wrestling and we like talking about it. And then sometimes we have an opportunity to interview wrestlers and talk about wrestling. Like I don't think I'm a journalist by any stretch of the imagination, and that's why I feel like we're different from that.
I'm a
And yeah,
journalism.
and like
Common
dirt
journalism.
sheets, dirt sheets. Let's talk about like dirt sheets, right? Because when I was younger, I loved reading about it because I just thought it was kind of cool to read up on like contracts or rumors of people maybe showing up or if there's a backstage issue and that kind of stuff. And, you know, it's very TMZ to some degree, right? Like you're hearing some kind of drama that happens backstage. You're not sure if it's real, if it's not real. And sometimes there are certain things like, oh, like for example, Edge, Matt Hardy, and Lita, right? Like that was like dirt sheet type stuff. And then that stuff manifests itself on television and then becomes a story because there's enough of a fervor, like just conversation that gets created on the internet and then put on TV. So like I feel like that's fascinating to me. Like and I feel like we've all kind of done it to some degree, read up on some kind of dirt news or whatever. And I don't know where the term came from. I don't know if any of you know what the origin of the dirt sheet is, but I feel like it's been around as long as at least like the 80s or 90s when it comes to like wrestling, quote unquote, wrestling news and what goes on in the business. And I guess, Andres, what do you think? How is the internet and like the 24/7 news cycle of this kind of stuff? How do you feel like that's changed like the nature of wrestling news and rumors? Because like you of course had like the newsletter that like Meltzer would be mailing out in the 90s or whatever, and that's how folks would be getting their news about like different stories. And now it's like social media. Everyone has a website now with links and rumors to things, and their sources, trust me, bro. And a lot of news stories also just get shared and retweeted on X, and then it just has a life of its own, right? Like, and then you see like the shares of like this thing got shared 300,000 times, and who the hell knows if what this person said is real, right? So, long story short, how do you feel like it's changed the nature of wrestling news and rumors?
It's definitely widespread and more easily accessible. I mean, I remember buying like wrestling magazines like in the day, and like they had like news, and you had to be like, and there was a site I would recite to, Wrestling Source One or something. Man, I can't remember. It was so long ago. But now, I mean, you can just pull up your phone and find guys like us, or trust me, bros, in the press conference rooms, and like get all kinds of news really quick. I mean, it's so conveniently easy now. No more mailing anything.
Yeah.
So, and then pretty much when news breaks, I mean, even TMZ's on wrestling news too,
That's true. I did actually just see that they have like their own YouTube channel, like a TMZ Pro Wrestling
In the Ring or whatever
podcast. Yeah, subsection now. They got two of these guys, and I was listening to the one they just had. I'm like, you guys are in like a different realm because like your takes are wild to me. But you know what? That's awesome.
I saw a clip of their YouTube short of them reacting to Hulk Hogan's death, and like on the very second like someone got on the phone, like he was getting the confirmation of it, someone was already typing the story, and he had like already like 1,000 words ready, and he's like, I have it ready now, if it's confirmed I can send it. And then the guy who like runs everything, he's running back and forth like, did you get it, okay, go, and then he's like screaming, send it now. So like they had to be like the first people to ever like be the ones to like post it. It was kind of crazy.
That was a YouTube short?
Yeah, if I can find it again, I'll send it to you.
Yeah, that's wild. I mean, those are the same people who like announced, was it Kobe Bryant's death?
Yep.
Like before even like the family or anybody else knew. Like, I don't know what the hell,
Jesus.
like what their sources are or whatever. Like, that's insane.
The nurse.
Yeah.
I mean, that's their business. But yeah, David, what do you think? How has the internet, like this 24/7 news cycle, changed the nature of wrestling news and rumors?
I think it just keeps it going at all times. I wish I could get a silly one off. Like gobbledygooker or something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like
just one time. Just like everybody thinks freaking, I don't know, Kevin Nash is gonna show up and be one of Cena's last opponents for whatever reason. Like, source
becomes true.
The fake news media.
I don't even want it to come true. I just want it to get enough clicks.
Just get enough like a rumor conversation.
Got y'all.
it just gets so popular. You get like Wade Barrett to like dispel your rumor, or Kevin Nash. Like, I don't know where you heard this from. This isn't true, bro.
Wade Barrett's not taking PTO. He's showing up.
Yeah.
For Cena.
That's insane.
But no question. Did Kevin Nash officially retire, or is he just not wrestling?
He's
He ever like
retired.
officially announced it? He has retired. Okay, I can't recall saying like him ever actually saying I'm done. Like I'm not doing it anymore.
You heard it
I
here
don't know if he had,
first,
like, an
folks.
official like retirement match, but
Retired.
yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I know he's definitely up
he's
there. I know he hasn't wrestled either, so I'm just assuming, but I don't recall his actual retirement like announcement.
Chris, what do you think? What are some of the most? Who do you think are the most reputable sources for wrestling news, and who do you think are the most disreputable sources for news?
I feel like everything that we consume, or I should say, at least like I consume, like What Culture and all those guys, like they're a lot of times they're just kind of
Might have said.
parroting, what's been reported somewhere else, and they're just kind of like doing their thing. So, I mean, the question is like, who are these sources? You know what I mean? Like, is that what makes a journalist, a journalist if they have like legitimate sources?
Right. Well, who would you view as reputable? Like they're just not talking out of their ass.
I mean, I guess Sean Ross Sapp would be the main name because he's the name everybody loves to bring up. So he must have some legitimate sources on the inside. If you're gonna get something
Yeah.
remotely close to the truth in this specific realm, it would definitely have to be Sean Ross Sapp.
Yeah, I mean that's why when it comes to like news stories and stuff, I tend to just pull from Fightful because I feel like they are the most reputable when it comes to actual like news coverage or contract dealings or whatever. There are certain things that they turn into as a news story, and it's easier to synthesize because like you can pull it off from Twitter if I'm scrolling and see like Ronda Rousey talk shit or something. I could have taken a screenshot, but I feel like it's easier when they have a centralized place and they put a story together, and then it's easier for me to like read the story. They already found it, and then I can summarize it, and then we can just talk about it. And they don't only do those kinds of things, but like you said, I feel like contract disputes, even things like the AJ returning kind of stuff, like they had sources that kind of confirmed that they were having conversations before that. So I feel like they're the most reputable. Wrestling Observer, I don't know. I mean, I don't think they're just dirt sheet peddlers. Like, I feel like some people just like to talk shit about Dave Meltzer and Brian Alvarez, but I don't know. I think there's still a certain level of legitimacy to that. I mean, like, he isn't just sitting on Twitter and just like talking shit like some kind of like basement dweller. Like he does go on those media calls and he does ask Triple H and Tony Khan and guys like that questions. When it comes to specific things within the business, whether it's a contract dispute or deals with ESPN or NBC Universal. So like, I feel like that is a certain level of legitimacy that you're doing. Versus like, I don't know, Nikki Bella said something on video, and I think it's because Wade Barrett was talking shit, and they are just basically putting one story and then put another story, and then they made up a reason in between. They fudged it together, and then it kept rolling. Like, for example, we just brought it up, the whole Wade Barrett thing, where they thought Nikki Bella said something on a podcast, and then Wade Barrett, I think, she said something about like him. I don't know what it was, but it was something about like
Being mean.
something I don't know, yeah, something like that. And then like he responded to her, and then basically there was a news story about Wade Barrett was not going to be on the road. And this happened. That story popped up after that conversation on the podcast, and then people rolled with it. They were like, "Oh, see, this is why," because Nikki Bella basically told Triple H or whoever, like, "Oh, I had this issue," so now they took him off commentary because this and this happened, and then they rolled with it. That thing got like 50,000 retweets and a bunch of comments, and then Wade Barrett had to come out and then like actually comment on it and say this isn't true, and I actually had planned time off or whatever.
PTO, baby. I'm
Yeah, I mean,
cashing
even
it
like
in.
even like the same thing like Kenny Omega and that kind of stuff. They were saying, because he had also planned time off or whatever, making a big deal out of nothing. Um,
I mean, just like
and
the state
yeah,
of like media consumption, like how your average fan consumes media these days. A lot of people get the news from, influencers and all these people. Like a lot of people just find things out because they're on TikTok or whatever. They're not like tuning in, on the television necessarily. Like there's still that crowd, but you know, because would you consider somebody like,
pull out their coffee.
yeah, would you consider Hassan a journalist? Hassan Piker?
Uh, no, I wouldn't.
Yeah. But I
And
mean,
I don't think even he considers himself a journalist. He just says like he's just like an idiot streamer or whatever, and he gets connections and stuff. Like he legitimately goes to places. Like I saw him go to the Japanese Communist Party, and it was asking like the chairman of that like just questions like in Japan. Like, but I still wouldn't consider him a journalist. Like that isn't his core thing. Like the main function of his role and what he does where he earns money is he's streaming and like talking shit most of the time. He's commentating on stuff and just like interacting with chat and just doing gooner shit. Like it's not the same. Like you didn't get a degree for it, and you're not like that isn't your day to day. Like, so I wouldn't consider him to be a journalist. And he also says he isn't. So I guess that kind of like adds to it.
yeah.
Um, but yeah, like you said, like most people get their news for better or for worse, because that could be a whole other conversation about how people get their news from people like streamers and, like you said, influencers. I mean, being for real, like social media news feeds, a TikTok person who like made a fancy video and it looks real because it looks well produced, but who the hell knows is what they said in that video was accurate? Like a lot of people just like, yeah,
AI
did you see this
commentary.
shit? Yeah, I mean, like whatever. Like, oh, like look at this crying child that with like seven fingers, and you have like 50-year-olds like resharing it because they think there's an actual like flood in I don't know bumfuck nowhere, and it got reshared like a billion times because this
Real people.
eight-handed child is crying on a log or whatever. Like that kind of shit happens, and that's kind of messed up. But I feel like that's kind of the world that we're kind of living in. But I do think real journalism still exists, and when it comes to wrestling specifically, I think there are very few like actual journalists or people that do that kind of stuff. I like Chris Van Fleet. I would consider to be a journalist because I mean, like, because he like it's. I mean, that's the thing. Like his focus is like interviews and having conversations, but I would consider that still that to be a level of journalism.
He gets good
Uh,
bits.
yeah,
I think the main thing, though, because a lot of these, especially within the wrestling industry, I think the only legitimate journalist I feel is Sean Ross Sapp, because everybody always like, as reported by Fightful, as reported by Sean Ross Sapp. Like every time I see
right.
somebody like Chris Van Fleet or anybody else, it's just literally stemming from that. But let me just read the definition of journalism from Oxford Language. So the activity or profession of writing for newspapers, magazines, or news websites, or preparing news to be broadcast. So, I mean, there's people who are technically preparing news to be broadcasted, so it could be like a sound piker or an influencer on TikTok or something like that if we're going by definition. But
I mean, again, like, but then I think
I'm a
for
journalist.
news, yeah, but like for news, it still has to be like, is this backed up by facts? Because like then what would you say is the difference between like a journalist and like a propagandist, right? Like there's a difference between
right.
stating facts that's just like these are just the legit balls and strikes, and this is what it is versus like I have a certain agenda to spin and I'm saying this, I'm broadcasting it. That for me, that's not the same thing. You know, like an NPR is not the same thing as like a Fox News, for example. You know what I mean? Like there's one that just gives you news and it's just like cut and dry like that, and then other people, you know, you have your talking bobbleheads and people who put their spin on it, you know, and of course those get more views because it's more interesting, more fun. It's more crash TV, and not everyone wants to sit through like some kind of dry commentary on, I don't know, fucking coffee bean growers in Zimbabwe or whatever. You know what I mean? So uh,
Let's go.
it's like, yeah, I mean, like it's, I think there's a difference, but let me ask you this, because I feel like I mentioned some of things that were like dirt sheets or in the news, and then it like became something in wrestling. I feel like, I mean, like give divas a chance. I'm trying to think like, is that something that happened on the internet and then rolled in? I mean, yeah, because that was like a social media thing. But is it a dirt sheet thing? I feel like, I think there's I think to a certain degree, because it's like, because you would be hearing news stories of like girls and divas being frustrated about the booking process or whatever, and you'd hear, I mean, it was a dime a dozen when it came to those kind of news stories.
Right.
So let me ask you this, I guess, David, how much influence do you think like from like the amount of time that you've watched wrestling, how much influence do you feel like wrestling news sites and dirt sheets have on the booking decisions of major promotions like WWE and AEW? Can you think of any like specific examples where you feel like fan speculation that was like fueled by these sites led to actual like change in creative direction?
Uh, one thing, the thing that came to like the top of my head right away was when Rollins and Bray Wyatt had that terrible Hell in a Cell,
Mm.
and so but WWE responded by turning Rollins heel the next week.
So what? So can you refresh in my memory, because I wasn't, this was like 2019, right?
Yeah,
Can you refresh my memory, like what happened in that like era? So Rollins was babyface, and then Bray Wyatt was like the heel.
yeah. But people like Rollins had weird. I shouldn't say Rollins had weird booking. I just think it wasn't done right because it's like now him and Becky Lynch are are doing stuff together and everybody loves it. But
Right.
maybe it's because it was against Baron Corbin. Maybe it was because Vince was there. Like who knows? Maybe it just wasn't
Right.
the time to do it. And so it's Hell in the Cell, and he couldn't stop the Fiend. So he started throwing chairs and buried them under a bunch of weapons, then smacked a sledgehammer on top of the pile of debris. And the ref was like, "Oh no, even though it's Hell in the Cell, it's over." So it went to ref stoppage, and yeah,
Damn, that's crazy. I actually did.
right.
I remember them talking about that being like one of the worst like Hell in a Cell matches, and in general in terms of like the direction, but I never got myself to watch that. I just took folks' word for it.
But I seen it live. I remember
That was like
just
when they
like
had the Hell in a Cell pay-per-view, right?
yeah, and like that was back when the Fiend was still wrestling under the red light. So it was like a whole Hell in a Cell in a red
Oh,
light,
hell no.
and
Was the
then
cell
yeah.
red too?
Probably. I don't know. The lights were red.
I remember when they were doing that with Sin Cara. He had the trampoline, and then anytime he'd do a match, it was like blue and pink or some shit. I honestly don't personally like when they do that kind of stuff, but I mean, I guess if it's gimmicky. But so what in the like in news was like kind of hovering around that time where they were like, all right, well now Seth has to be a heel. Like what made that
Everybody
switch
hated
for
it.
us?
Everybody hated it. They already people didn't want the match to happen because they knew that like there was no right way to do it.
Hmm. Yeah,
And
and you know
and
what? You
then
know,
like
this kind of like reminds me of like another aspect of wrestling journalism, and it's not just like reporting on the news, but people with, like you said, Chris, so like people with a following that like have a lot of eyeballs. If it's like a commentator, and the commentator is like shitting on whatever is happening, and there's a lot of people who are like, "Yeah, you're right. That is shit," and I feel like when you have like a decent YouTube subscription following and it makes enough noise, I feel like that does a ripple effect. Like it's not just the news pieces of like, oh, backstage issues number 556. It's also like really watched YouTube video of this one commentator just really shitting on this match. And then in the comment section, you have all these people complaining about it too. And then there's this ripple effect because you have so many people who watch it who probably also watch the product. So I feel like that's kind of another aspect of that.
And then it becomes news because, I mean, I feel like wrestling's this interesting thing that, like, a lot of stuff can influence where a story can go based on, because it's a reaction thing of a crowd. So similarly, right. If you have some influencer with a bunch of followers and they're talking some crap about this thing, and then everybody else just starts to parrot what they're saying, and then that translates into shows, then it becomes technically the news, because that is this is where it's going now or whatever, right? So it's kind of interesting. I think it's very unique to wrestling specifically. I think that the crowd has this influence, and also by default or by proxy, then influencers who watch wrestling also have this kind of influence.
Yeah. I mean, like, I feel like, the power of social media, I think, does a really heavy lift for some of these things. And I do think, like, wrestling journalism, whatever you want to call it, however you want to describe it, and everyone puts different folks under that umbrella. But yeah, like, We Want Cody, like that whole thing, when Cody Rhodes came out, and they thought that he was going to be facing Roman Reigns, and then it's not going to be me, and then The Rock comes out, and then there's this whole like issue, and there's a combination of news stories about, oh, this is what happened, this is why they pivoted, and then you have the fervor of people on social media, YouTube commentators saying like, what, like La Greca, like I don't think they're wrestling journalists either, but like busted open. I think they have a unique thing because they have wrestlers who were in WWE combined with guys who are on Sirius FM, which is like a quote unquote legitimate like radio like broadcast, whatever you want to call it, satellite station, talking shit in his pink bathrobe or whatever it was what he was doing during that time. But like all that combined to, I think, change the course of Cody Rhodes actually getting it back on track, facing Roman Reigns. So I mean, I think that's like the most recent one where they actually changed creative direction based on something that they read or listened to. Andres, what do you think from like a wrestler's perspective? What do you think are the potential pros and cons of having like their every move in contract negotiation being reported on?
I mean, their contract specifically.
I mean, contract is part of it, but it's like, what do you think are the pros and cons of like having their every move being reported on? Like contract negotiation is part of it, but it's like also other things like, I don't know, like Rhea Ripley, for example, I guess was reported on that these people were shoving autographs in her face when she was trying to get into like a car. Like that's just a small example, but like
so the celebrities
is like yeah.
Okay. I mean, I'm sure there's like the pros are like, okay, the pros are, I don't know. I don't know how I would like that if that would be so much of a pro thing, because I do know like cons are like, obviously your privacy is going to be pretty much invaded and people are going to know where you're going to be and stuff. Like I've even gone to shows in the Rosemont and like, I remember going to the Hyatt in the Rosemont, and there was like a section actually made for WWE fans because at the Rosemont Hyatt, that's actually where a lot of the wrestlers used to stay. And I remember seeing it, and actually there was actually people on every floor with radios, just looking for wrestlers. They're like, oh, like Roman Reigns is on the 7th floor. He's coming down to the lobby, and then people would go running. It was kind of crazy. Not gonna lie, I've never experienced that before. But my friends who were going to the show, they're like, oh, we just heard about like this is where to hang out to meet them, and though we met a bunch of them. We met Paul Heyman, Paige. This was a very long time ago. What was his name? Zack Ryder, Booker
Ryback.
T. Like, yeah, Ryback. No, well, I met Road Dogg. He was super cool. He was really cool. He actually like, hung out and like talked with us for a while. But no, like the hotel like knew about this whole thing, and they actually had like a whole like roped off section that said for WWE fans. So I don't know. I feel like it's kind of part of the job now, and unfortunately, like people like the cons are people. You know, people are gonna like know where you're at, know what flight you're on too, because they were able to find that out too when I was hearing them talking. It was kind of crazy.
Insane.
It's insane. Yeah, they knew like their flight. They somehow knew when they were landing. They knew which hotel they were booking to. I don't know how, but it's kind of crazy. Yeah. So I mean, pros. Yeah, I don't know.
What
I
pros,
mean, obviously it's
what pros
more of a
can you
con
get
thing.
from? Yeah, like what pros
I
would you
don't
get?
know.
And don't even like we don't even have to only include like people who are like legit like stalking their every move. I also mean like
Yeah, for
you know like being reported on like I don't know your personal life or maybe you have disputes like with creative about like your personal direction in wrestling. Like even things like being reported on in that sense. Like do you see a pro in there for like from a wrestler's
yeah. I guess
perspective?
like if like if you I don't know like if you complain about something with creative or something or the way that the company is booking you and you're getting recognition from the your fans, but you know it's making a lot of news and it's going to the dirt sheets, it's going to the guys that are journalists or not journalists, and maybe WWE also kind of recognizes that in your favor too, you know, them getting their support and stuff like that, you know, maybe that could also be a very pro thing too, you know, if it's a legit thing too, like if it's not like you're just being all sour grapes about something and you're like, no, like this is legit, like the universe is even telling the company like please, like kind of what happened with like Daniel Bryan, because I remember like when Daniel Bryan was like getting like he kept getting like the short end of the stick, and like the crowd was literally booing like every pay-per-view, like really bad, and even like legends were coming in on Twitter and saying like does I remember Mick Foley was one the big one, he was like, does WWE actually hate their fans,
Right.
you know, and then eventually Daniel Bryan got his big moment in WrestleMania, you know.
And then what happened?
I think pros like that are really good. That can help, you know, elevate yourself. You know.
Yeah.
And then he
But I
said
think
none of that
those are
mattered.
pros.
Yeah, and then he said, no, which is also kind of interesting. I wonder where that came from. But maybe we can save it for another time. But Dave, what do you think? What it comes from like a wrestler's perspective, and that question of like being reported on your every move, whether it's a contract negotiation, creative disputes, love life issues, I don't know, whatever you want to name it. Like, what are the pros and cons of that being reported on by journalists and you know the like?
The cons are they're in your life. The pros are this is exactly what you wanted. You grew up idolizing, well, I should say idolizing, but like looking up to musicians and athletes and entertainers, and you are at the popularity helm of being a Venn diagram, like in the middle of all three. So it's like, welcome.
Yeah,
It's
I mean,
gonna
like, I
happen.
think,
It's gonna suck.
yeah, I don't know if there's a way to avoid it unless,
No, unless you're the Undertaker and
Oh.
just walk around blank face for 30 years and don't say or do much, just walk around in black and ignore everyone.
right? I mean, exactly. Like, it just like what kind of life do you want to lead? I guess if you are like super kayfabe, like the Undertaker, where he just kind of understands how to like, but I feel like most people now aren't that. And especially, I mean, especially now, like
I
it's
think
such a different world, you know.
I think
It
MJF
is,
does a
man.
good job at being all three.
Yeah.
Like he understands that he has to show up. He understands that he could like use his character a little bit, and that he just needs to convert it all into good.
Yeah, I mean, like from a wrestler's perspective, the cons are definitely like,
They're in your shit.
They're in your shit. Yeah, I mean, they're reporting on every like little dirty detail, and you know, like sometimes I'm sure it's not even true, but it's like then you might be hearing it from like your family members who might be hearing it in the news or something like, "Hey, is this true? Did you actually, do this or
Yup,
whatever?"
sure did.
Yeah, exactly. Like you got to deal with that. I think when it comes to like a pro, I mean, I think the most recent example is like Karrion Cross, with like the creative issues, and his contract coming to an end. I think for him, it was a net positive because he got so much. I mean, fanfare. I mean, also just a bunch of interest on him as a character because people weren't sure if it was real or not. And then, he did a bunch of these interviews talking about his contract disputes. Another person, Ariel Helwani, I think, does a really good job in like a wrestling journalism perspective. I think Ariel Helwani's pretty legitimate as a person. His interviews are always great, and again, like his interviews with CM Punk, like legendary, like that shit got a lot of views after he left AEW. The Karrion Cross stuff, like that guy, I feel like that specific type of journalism, I feel like helps guys like Karrion Cross when it comes to like creative decisions and issues like that. So that's a pro.
I would say
The
another
con, of
pro.
course, yeah. Go for it.
I think one of the main pros would be that they can use, like feeding information to, the marks, so to speak, to influence a storyline, right? Like they can put out, call it false information or something to egg people on into, creating some kind of a storyline out of that stuff. So that's a potential positive that you can just kind of influence the narrative a bit.
That's true. So I think as we're wrapping up, and we talked about a little bit like the evolution of what wrestling journalism is, wrestling news analysis, and that kind of stuff. What like as we close this up, what do you think is the future of wrestling journalism? How do you feel like it's going to continue to evolve with like the new technologies and all these different fan expectations that keep changing? Chris, what do you think? What do you think is like the future of wrestling journalism?
I mean, the dystopian version is definitely the AI just slop. That's just like you'll get these random videos that are being, commentated by some AI voice, and it's like they're just going over information that's not necessarily true, or you'll see these like AI like images of like wrestlers and stuff, and then like on Facebook, I don't know how many of those likes are bots versus how many people are like legitimately thinking like it's an actual scene or something like that. You know what I mean? But definitely AI just being a big influence on as far as like perception of did this happen or not. Like that's going to be a big one.
Yeah. Andres, what do you think?
Oh, the future of journalism. I mean, yeah, I gotta say, I mean, obviously with Chris's point, I mean, obviously with AI taking off as much as it is, and um, that could definitely be making certain questions because it's becoming more realistic as it comes. Like every freaking month, there's always like a newer AI generated like system coming out. But I mean, even so, even with the prospect of social media evolving with it too, I mean, journalism is just going to keep growing with it, and we're going to probably even know. I don't know. I mean, that's why I think WWE kind of also started to reveal more about like their business because I think they kind of knew like it's going to get to a point where like it's going to have to be like everyone knows it's fake, but showing it more and making money on it at the same time is a good idea. So, I mean,
you get to set your own narrative at that point.
Yeah, at that point, yeah.
David, what do you think? What do you think is the future of it? What does it look like to you?
I think it's gonna keep moving towards the way of like the streamer and the watch along, and yeah, just like other than like recaps of like shows and stuff, like them just on their own time, like probably just repeating what Sean Ross said, and just like putting their own thought piece again towards like certain subjects like that, just with the live chat.
Yeah.
Yeah, I kind of liken
I-
it to
yeah. Right.
Like just like talking with your friends on the schoolyard or something about like something. That's why people like watching these reaction videos and jumping on streams and stuff, because there's this kind of like social aspect to it. So I think, like David's saying, the streaming of, you know, just whatever, hanging out, like we're playing a game or something, somebody else is, and they're reacting to what's happening, or they're reading again, like Hassan kind of does. He's just like sitting there shooting the shit, going through random articles, and then just having discourse in the chat. So it's probably some version of that, I imagine, on top of everything else that's just been there. So all the legacy media stuff and the Twitter stuff and all that.
Yeah. I mean, I think to your point, when you said AI, I think that's going to be a big factor in those kinds of things. Because, like, I've also seen, like, they have, like, those weird AI images where it kind of looks like a real person. Like, they had, like, a picture of Roxanne Perez and someone else where it kind of looked like Roxanne Perez, but it wasn't.
Oh yeah,
And you had, like, a bunch of, like, image,
that
like,
was
comments
freaky.
in the section, like, oh, like, what'd she do to her face or whatever the hell, like, some people don't know that that's an AI generated image, which I don't think is great because, again, I feel like when it's not if, it's when AI gets like AI as a language model, I think is already doing a pretty damn good job in terms of analysis. But when it comes to like video editing and picture creation, when that happens, and you can't tell the difference between like a real photo that's being taken and a recreated one, that's going to be, I mean, scary. I think scary to a certain degree because then you won't know unless the person who took the picture says is real or isn't real. But
What's
by the time they get a response from that person, it already got shared 500,000 times, and half those people aren't going to bother following the source, right? Like they're already gonna be like, oh yeah, I know you from that one thing that I saw on the internet. That's true, isn't it? And then they have to spend time trying to, explain that shit. And there's like 10 more crazy ass pictures that got taken in its place, right?
Yeah, I hope that there's a legal thing that gets created, because when it gets to that point, I feel there needs to be some kind of a watermark or a stamp or something that's saying that
Oh, absolutely.
this is an AI image or video. Because yeah, I mean, there'd be so many deep fakes and could cause like a slew of issues, right? Like people can create whatever, make people criminals because they did something on an AI
That was
video or
AI.
something. So
Yeah,
there's
I mean, think about all like the
regulation.
the go-to stuff with like presidents, like they sample their voice, and then you could have like Biden or Trump say whatever the hell you want them to say, and some people are like, "Did he really say that?" You can
Like,
make him say
Yep.
"skibbity toilet" or whatever the fuck
right, right.
you can get him to say.
Like we've shared a bunch of
Um,
stuff on Instagram of just people saying asinine stuff, and it's crazy because it gets pretty uncanny. Like the inflections of the words, you could tell like it's kind of like off, but it's like, to the unsuspecting person, like it's enough to be like, wow, why would they say
So you
that?
it's like if you
yeah,
show your grandma Arnold Schwarzenegger, she'll be like, "Oh my God, he's lost it."
yeah, exactly. I mean, like, and even like when like I said, when it came to like pictures, when it was like that's clearly AI, like, but then there was still so many people that still thought it was real. Like, just think about when it legitimately looks like I can't tell if this is real or not. And like, there's already like Instagram like profiles with like someone was, I don't know if it was just like in our algorithm on Chi-Town Shoot, but there's like this AI like wrestling page. They just did like the SmackDown show, and it's like Botchamania, like but AI versions, and like it's
Yes.
just like putting them in weird situations. Did you send it? I don't know if it was you, Andres, or someone sent it.
It might have been
It was
me.
like
Yeah.
Yeah,
like Cena
I know what you're
with
talking
like
about.
they get stabbed by a clown or whatever.
yeah.
It takes the scene and it
Yeah.
looks real, and then like a clown just shows up and just like shivs them. Or
Yeah.
like
I was wondering who said that.
That
Yeah,
one I
it was
don't remember
Andres, I
either.
think.
Yeah.
Yeah, but like it used to look like super weird, like oh that's not AI, but I'm like it kind of looks a little like real, which is like then when you see it's like so bizarre because it looks real. I'm like, why the fuck did a clown just show up and like shank him in the side, or like AJ Lee, like she like just goes on top of her and just like spontaneously combusts like on top of Becky Lynch.
She just like
Because
rolled
what
away or
and that-
something.
You
she's
just use
rolled-
self-destruct.
Yeah, like apparently that's like a signature thing. It's like they always have someone go on top of another person, they just blow up in flames or whatever is like one of their shticks. But yeah, I mean, like just shit like that is what I'm saying. Like going forward, like this will just speed up even quicker. I feel like when it
Right by
comes
next year.
to AI stuff, it'll just get crazier, yeah, and more uncanny. Like think about like just a year ago, like how much of a difference in video quality and stuff. So. I think that's the biggest effect that's going to be in journalism and yeah, and just like it being used as a tool for creating like images and like video of putting people in situations where it might not be real. So I think that's a wrap for this episode of the Chi-Town Shoot podcast. Please don't forget to like, subscribe, rate us, and leave your feedback. Tune in next time for more Wrestling Madness. Until then, keep marking out.